everyone. Welcome to this episode number 4 of the series of the racing car game jam by Ozzy. Welcome, Ozzy. You can say hello now, Ozzy.
Hello, everyone.
So, as always, we go to the usual ritual where I always ask you guys to like our videos, subscribe to our channel, because this is the only way Facebook will, sorry, not Facebook, YouTube will share the videos. And we want as many people as possible to start coding for the Amiga. As always, also under each video, I remind you that if you click more, there are links. I mean, not just to Phase 101, but there are links for the source code. So normally you'll find something like this, like what I'm showing right now. Our source code is Omega, and it will direct you to something like this, where you can download the source code. Please also subscribe to my Facebook page and the Phase 101 Facebook group and the Phase 101 Commodore Dev group. The difference between all three, one is the page, is like a block. The other one is the group. And the last one, Commodore Dev, is anything related to Commodore. Is posted there. If you want to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me on Facebook. I do reply on Facebook, but I take time. While on Discord, I reply normally quite quickly. Ozzy can tell you that. I also have Telegram for those that do not want to use neither Facebook or Discord, where you can reach me. So just the links are all up in the upper right hand corner of the screen. You can easily subscribe to Telegram. Of course, for those that want to do that extra mile and support us, you can support us through Patreon or through Coffee. They are identical. They have the same links. You will unlock in currently 84 videos if you decide to support us. There are also benefits like sources available that I do not normally share with anyone except my supporters. And I guess we can start with what Ozzy did. Ozzy, I will let you go through the first slide, and then we will show the game. Okay?
Okay, as usual, perfect.
Yeah.
So now I can say whatever I want. The stage is mine.
Yeah, you can.
So, first of all, thanks for having me again. Today it will be a little bit shorter because the last 7 days I didn't do so much, and the reason is that I had something else to do with it rather than playing with the Amiga, but still I found some time on Saturday morning as usual. And the other reason is that I stumbled on a problem. And since for me developing for the Amiga, of course, it's not a job, it's not a mission. I don't want to prove anything to anyone. I really don't care about the final outcome. For me, it is a learning process. So when I stumble on a problem, like it happened last Saturday, I just Googled something, and then I got the response from, in this case, from EIB. I copy and paste some code, and it worked just fine. Most of the the people I know just get over with this, and so it works. Let's move on to the next problem. But I prefer in this case to stop and understand what I just copy and pasted. And of course, for me, it was, as I said, a learning process. And this is the reason I don't have too much. The game is essentially the same code that you saw last week. No big improvements, no big feature, no new feature. There are some still, but not so relevant from my side. So what I have to say, since for me being here is just an excuse to talk to Phase and to have some conversation with the Amiga community, I didn't want to miss. So even if I have just only a few slides, please accept what I have. I'm not going to go in depth, and still I'm not sure if what I'm going to say is wrong or right. So apologies in advance. And what I can say now, you can show the game even if it's pretty much the same, still the same bugs, still unresolved, still the graphics is the same, the physics engine is the same. The changelog is quite small, but there is something. Let me see if you can spot the difference.
Yeah, I'm going to run it. I need to bring my joystick and put away the keyboard.
Yeah, this black screen is very sad, but my intention was to put the Phase 101 logo on the background, but still I still have problems because I don't know if the mixing the colors that give the impression of the unreadability of the foreground. So for now, it's just a black background.
Well, use your playfield.
Yeah. The fonts are free playfield, so 8 colors.
Yeah.
I could go
It could go.
dual.
It should work with with 8 colors.
It works, but my problem is more artistic
Okay.
because, for example, if I pick a yellow gradient, for example, as a background, the text becomes unreadable. So I have to select the hue saturation ratio in order to make the text pop out and be understandable. This is where I really lack in terms of knowledge.
Okay. So I can tell what I've noticed, or you want the public to tell what is changed?
I can give some suggestion. There are more cards now.
Uh-huh.
There are 3. But as I said last week, it was quite trivial because how the application is built gives you enough flexibility to add any number of car you want. The only limit is the computational power of the Amiga, because for every car you have to calculate the acceleration, the braking, the trajectory, all this stuff. I didn't make any measurements about if the program is lightweight or it's too heavy. For now, what I can say is that I'm trying with my stock A600, and I don't see any stuttering, any frame rate issues. It works smoothly. So I think that even if it's not optimized at all, it's partially optimized, my code here, but still the Amiga is able to manage 3 cards at the same time. Of course, still there are no collision detection, so some feature is missing, but let's say that I usually go into optimization when the game is done, and then I start crying because I don't know what to do to save some cycles.
Sorry, I started the game. In the meantime, I say hello to few bit. It's already 1000, okay, and I haven't started. So, as you can see, by the way, you added collision detection. That's what I noticed. So you can see it is much more easy to drive it, although I'm still a mess. But earlier I made it in 2000, let's put it this way. 1800 to be honest. Oops. This part I cannot. I really struggle in this part.
Because on ice there is a trick.
Yeah?
You have, yeah, because the way I implemented the physics engine, it's not realistic. For example, if you go into the grass, you take an advantage instead of going to the white pixels. So what I usually do, I try to avoid the whites as much as possible and go to the on the grass.
But that is not the how it should be played.
Yeah, probably. There is a big possibility that I change what happens over the ice, or maybe there is also the possibility that I delete the grass around the ice. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But the main point here, and this is the subject of tonight, is that last time that you played this game, you said, okay, it's impossible to accelerate
No,
with up.
it is a lot better. I can control it. It's just that I'm still getting used to it. This is my third time playing it.
Yeah, the point is, I usually play with the keyboard because for me this type of games make sense to be played on the keyboard.
I think it's much more easier with the joystick, I have to say now. Last time it was easier with the keyboard, but today I can say it is a lot. I mean, okay, I'm still getting used to it, but I can. Last time I couldn't maneuver it at all. I mean, if you tell me, okay, if this is, and if you say that today you're maneuvering it properly, you tell me, okay, then how bad was it last time? It was very bad. I can tell you that. But you see, in the corners, I'm able to turn. Last time I was not able to turn, so that makes a huge difference.
It's going much better now. But so what I wanted to say is that of course I took your advice from last stream and I tried to implement the acceleration with the fire button of the joystick, and it was done in more or less 5 minutes. Even
it's
probably less. It was very easy. But when after doing that, I said, the Amiga has more than one button. What if I use the second button to brake? And this is the subject of today's stream. How to use the second button. And this is the problem I was referring before, that I googled and got the answer on EAB. As usual, EAB is not only a news forum, it's just a very big forum. They talk about just everything on the Amiga, so new products, electronics, and there are also sections that are related to programming in every language. Amiga C, Amiga Assembler, Amiga E, I think also. It's full of people that are willing to help. At least every time I asked for some kind of help there, someone answered. This time, no need, because the answer was already there. Just use the search function of Google. And so I got away with the solution very easily, but still I was not satisfied, because I want to know why it works like this, and why should I copy this code. And this is the most interesting part for me. It's not about making the car brake when you press the second button.
So,
And
sorry, Qubit asks the white snow. Yes, it is snow.
it should be ice actually, but I don't know. You can imagine, of course.
Snow, ice, call it what you want. Slippery.
Yeah. The point is that it's very slippery, and the way it behaves, the car, when it's over there.
JJ Ballon, if you saw the game last week, you will see that this is a lot better. Driving this is a lot better than it was last week, a week ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about what happens when you are on over the white pixels. It behaves like this, and this is something that I never talked about on the stream. What I did is I said to the car that when you are over the ice or the snow, the acceleration vector is halved, so it takes half of the magnitude, and the steer coefficient is doubled. This is what happens. So you can turn much faster when you are on ice, and the acceleration vector is low, because you are accelerating on ice. It takes more time to get some speed. This is the main idea. Of course, this has nothing to do with real physics. It's just my imaginary physics. This is my arcade game, and arcade games are not really simulations. For example, I love the Sega games, one of all Virtua Tennis.
Trying to cheat, but it's not working.
No, but you can cheat, because you just have to recompile the game and change the image. I'm not referring the image of the track. There is, if you remember, there is an image there which is telling the game which part, which pixel is walkable or not. So if you paint a hole, probably you can cheat. But still, you have to memorize where is the hole, the exact pixel, and you have to drive through this pixel.
Well, anyway,
5 laps, I would say it's a success.
Yeah. Compared to last time? Yeah. Oops. Sometimes it doesn't go straight. That I did not understand. Look, I was pressing it, but it doesn't go straight. It goes sideways.
Yeah, and this is, I know why. Because I only have 8 sprites, and I'm drawing there is an approximation. If you are going near 0 degrees of angle, I still draw the car sprite which is pointing to the right. Even if you are at 10 degrees of angle, for example, this could be solved with more sprites. So if I have the car picture rotated by 10 degrees, it will be so much better. And I tried to do this, but the car is so small, I cannot try.
Last time I told you the car needs to be bigger, but then having 4 of them is an issue.
Yeah, but I have the solution, because my friend Carlo gave me some sprite sheets, and the car is doubled in size, and I have much more pictures, so sprite frames to draw. And this problem should be, it's not solved because I will need 360 sprites in order to be precise. But still, it's a lot mitigated because if I have the car drawn at 10 degrees and then 20 and then 30 and 40 and so on, so 36 pictures, you won't notice this problem because the approximation is quite small, and with such a low resolution you would notice. And another feature that could be interesting is going.
How do you know if I'm pressing the brake button? Because my joystick has got 8 buttons, but I do not know which one is the.
This is the subject of tonight's stream. So when you are done playing, I will explain.
No, because I have 8 buttons and I do not know which one is the. Anyway, okay, let's.
Yeah, the counter is 10, and it's the counter of the laps. It's hard coded. So right now,
okay, like let's get the keyboard back.
You can go to the second slide. So just to make a very quick summary of the changes, if you didn't notice. And I should also have my here. So this is the change log from last week. The accelerate and brake is now done also with fire buttons. So in order to accelerate, you can press up or the fire button. And the brake button, the brake works the same. If you want to brake, just pull down your joystick, press down your joystick, or just press the second button.
Yeah. How do you locate the second button? You're going to explain it later on?
Yes, I'm going to explain the following slide. This is just a summary. So ask to return to the main menu, and this is understandable. And I did this because, let's say I give the player the opportunity to play with the port number joystick port 0, which is meant for the mouse, but it's possible to connect a joystick on port 0. And if I press the left mouse button or the joystick fire, the game just exit. This is the previous behavior, so I have to change it. The exit button is the ESC button on the keyboard. Since the Amiga is not a console, there is a keyboard, and so I thought just take advantage of the keyboard. Press ESC and you go back to the initial menu screen, and then from there you can go exit to the OS. And this is how most of the Amiga games work. You can't just quit and return to the OS from the game while playing. You have to first go into the main screen and then exit to the OS. Actually, a lot of Amiga games don't give the opportunity to go back to the OS. You just have to reboot the Amiga if you want. But this is not the case. In the RAM Jam book, all the examples were thought for being run on a workbench environment, so at least a CLI environment. So this is how my game works since I'm using RAM Jam stuff. So no more left mouse button to exit to the OS. And also, this is quite trivial. I implemented a sort of, let's say, presets for the keyboard, for the controls. You can pick WASD for controlling your car, but you can also use IJKL, which are meant for the right part of the keyboard. And additionally, there is also another key combination, which is the arrow buttons on the Amiga keyboard. This is something I did yesterday evening, and I didn't put in the slide because I wrote the slide before.
Thanks for the raid.
Who raided? Oh, back to the bit. Sam, thank you for the raid. Oh my god. Grazie mille. Back to the bit. Thank you. Let's do a shot. So, Sam, I hope it's okay to say it in English. We are doing a game, a car racing game. Actually, it's not me, it's Ozzy that is doing it. Using his AProcessing framework. This is based on the game challenge, game jam organized by Phase 101 and Retro Programmers Inside. And I can show you the game. I just, if you don't mind, Ozzy, I'm going to show the game again.
Yeah, no problem.
It's still in development. It's still, let's say, not mature enough. But, yeah. So, you can change the joystick port. And we can start. So, this is the game. If you remember Micro Machines, the game. This is... Mamma mia. Oh, thanks, Super Tech. And hello. So, basically... Oops, I started wrongly. It's jammed. Let's go on thing. Continues from where it left.
Yes, I don't reset the positions. You have to exit. This is intentional. Still, there is no concept of the start of the race.
This happened to me earlier. It always gets stuck in this position when you hit there.
Yeah, okay. Probably there is something wrong with the track, but there is always a way to.
Yeah, but well, it took me a lot of time to take it off last time. So basically, we are not me, but Ozzy has written this game. It's still in development, and as you can see, you can have 3 cars on track. The cars might change. This is ice or snow, so here it's very difficult to drive it. Anyway, and this is the aim of to do laps and race with the other cars. All this is written in assembly, and we are explaining, I mean, Ozzy is explaining what he did and what he did this week, because this is the 4th episode of this game series. Oops. Anyway, as you can see, I am struggling right now to drive it. But yeah, it skids a lot.
Yeah, also the timers have to be resetted.
Yeah, and you have to do it in a certain amount of time. I mean, I did it at an you can see that the earliest I did it was 3803 in this stream, but earlier I did it in 2800, but it depends.
Yeah, what should happen when you start the race is usually you have a traffic light with a red light on, and then you start the game. But all this stuff is not implemented yet. Should not be hard to do it, and this is why when you press exit, so you press ESC and then you get back, since there is no implementation of this routine, the race continues where from what you left off before. This is the reason. This is something intentional for now. Of course, the final game won't behave like this.
Yeah. So so that we continue, I hope you like what you saw. So, but thank you once again. Back to the bit. Thank you, Sam. So, Ozzy, all yours again.
Okay, so player 3 was implemented, and as I said, this was quite easy. I just want to remember that the Amiga has 8 sprites, but I can use only 4 because each sprite shares the same colors with the companion. So if I use sprite, for example, 0, 1, they both would be red cards and should be undistinguishable. And this is my main problem. So whether or you can go to using bobs, or you just use sprites by 2 by 2. So the sprite number 0, sprite number 2, sprite number 6. It's 5 actually. Where 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Too much.
No, it's 0, 0, 2,
3, 4, and 6.
Yeah, exactly. Because 7 is the last one.
Yeah, but the problem is that they are sharing the same colors.
Colors, yes.
And the even bigger problem is that they are sharing the same colors of the bit plane, the last 16 colors. So whenever I pick the colors, I should be very careful because otherwise the cards would disguise with the rest of the track. So I did a talk about this, how I solved this problem last week. So I'm not going to talk about this problem right now. I just want to answer to the second button problem. So, okay, so please go to the next slide, which is a disclaimer, if I understand. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. What is following is my understanding of the Amiga hardware reference manual. What I'm going to say is going to be inaccurate or wrong. So again, I found a snippet of code on EAB. It works fine. I'm happy. I wanted to know more about this, and I went to this one. For me, it's this one. Can you see it?
The Amiga hardware reference manual. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that I use a lot.
Yeah.
And probably not as much as the RamJam book, but there is something here that it's not reported in the RamJam book.
Yes.
So I would say if you have the RamJam book and the Amiga hardware manual, you have a lot of stuff and you have a lot of information. You shouldn't need more actually to program games using directly the hardware. Of course, the US is another story, but again, this is what I'm going to say now is what I read in this book, and this is my understanding, and it could be right or wrong. I don't know. You judge. Okay, so let's start. Go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just a short introduction. I imagine that any of you knows this stuff. Each Amiga has two standard DB9 connectors meant for joystick and mouse devices. these DB9 connectors are usually on the back of the Amiga. If you have an A500, that's not my case because I use 600, and they are on the right side. And each device has at least one button. So this is, for example, this is what I use. It's a regular joystick. Even if you see two buttons
I
here,
have the same one.
they are connected to the same pin for the Amiga. So don't be fooled by the double button. And I think it's just for left-handed people or the right-hand.
You see, I have the same one.
The very same?
Yeah.
No, it's different.
No.
Mine is much smaller, I think. This is very small.
This
I
is
don't know the name.
So you don't have Competition Pro. This is the original Competition Pro.
I don't know what is this because this one is what I used in the back in the days in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I don't know the name actually.
It's original Competition Pro.
Original? There is no competition.
No, it doesn't have. The box had it written on it.
Okay, I lost the box actually. So
Yeah, but
I can't tell.
I can recognize it. The only thing is yours is much more cleaner than mine.
It's probably yes. But the great feature of this joystick is that you can fix it.
Yes,
it's very
it's easy
to fix.
Yes.
You can. I broke the switch inside multiple times, and every time I just go to AliExpress and order with a couple of.
You just said the magic word. Mine, one of them is broken right now. This one doesn't work. This one doesn't work. This one works. This one, no. I need the switch actually. But I have the other one, the zip stick, which is they competed against each other. These two. I don't know if you can see them, but oops, like this. The zip stick, the yellow one.
Yeah, these are not my favorite because I have another joystick which is called the Speed King, which is you must hold in this position. It's quite strange. This is my favorite.
Really, I have one like that, but I don't use it, to be honest. No, these are my favorite. These two they're very robust.
Yeah, I agree. And the Speed Kings are much easier to break.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the point is that when in this joystick, just a standard Amiga joystick, there is only one fire button, and this fire button is connected, I think, to pin 6. I think
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and it works like this. When the button is connected on this chip, which is called the CIA. In Italian is CIA, CIA, and each Amiga has a couple of these, and they are meant for peripheral controls. And this CAAPRA is reachable at address BFE001. And so when you press the fire button on port 0, the bit 6 on this register is changed. And when you press the fire button on port 1, which is the joystick port, this is connected to the bit 7.
Bit 7, yes.
Yeah, and this is very easy because at any time in your program, you can just do a bit test and check if the bit is set or is cleared, and then you can do whatever you want. Now, very easy.
Did you know that the CIA chips of the Amiga are the same CIA chips that the Commodore 64 has?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but it's possible because the Commodore liked the recycling things.
Yeah, but
to
if you check the Commodore 64, you see that the Commodore 64 has two CIA chips called the 6526, and if you open your Amiga, you'll see two CIA chips with the number 6526. So both of
so
them are the same.
this means that if my Amiga CAA
Yeah,
breaks down, I can just replace and swap with the other.
yes, you can take the CIA, the 256 from the Amiga, from the Commodore 64 and put it in the Amiga. Yes.
Yeah, very good to know. Yeah, hopefully, I don't like to open the Amiga because I'm, I'm really
Really?
scared. Yeah,
Oh
because
my God.
I'm scared. I'm afraid to break something. Yeah, I'm not that type of hardware guy. I just let the others fix my machines and then I just program over them. This is what I do usually. But anyway, the Amiga joystick. Okay, short pin say when you press this button, you create a short between pin 6 and ground, I think. And when this happens, the corresponding CAPRE bit is set to 0 to indicate a closed switch.
Mhm.
And this is the old regular. Probably you have seen this a
Yeah.
lot of
The
time.
joysticks on the Commodore 64 works on the same thing, on the same principle. When you close the switch, it's at 0. It's not a 1. And the
Yeah,
Amiga is the same thing.
yeah, it's very straightforward, and
Yeah.
this also explains why the Amiga joysticks are so easy to fix because there is no logic inside, no chips other than the auto fire. But I didn't
Yes.
never use the auto fire except some exceptions, of course.
Ah,
So
mine has the auto fire, the Competition Pro. Yours has the auto fire?
no, this one has not auto fire.
Ah, it has the auto fire.
No, but I see there is some circuit inside. There is a capacitor and some transistor, but I don't see any switch for. Oh yes, there is one. Yeah, here
There you
I see
see. You
on the
didn't know.
angle. I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So,
Competition Pro.
oh, good to know. I have so much many other. This is if you want to see some weird stuff, I have this here. You won't believe it. I have this. I don't know if you've never seen it. This one.
Yeah, I have
It's
one like
the
it. I have one.
this, this is the weirdest the weirdest joystick I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
life.
There was
Uh,
another one. There was that one and another one which was red and blue. I forgot the name of it, but the handle was bigger. But same principle.
yeah, I like this type of joysticks actually. For platformers above all.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, this is not a joystick competition. We want to talk about programming. So go to the next slide, please. Okay, Amiga Joy and mouse button. So this is something that I found on the internet. These are paddles on the left. There is an image of paddles, and on the right there is an analog joystick adapter. And the main concept here is that the Amiga has other two fire buttons and that they are connected to pin 9 and 5. And for what I understand, these are meant for paddle, controller, and XY proportional joysticks. So the DB9 connector, of course, has 9 pin. 4 of them are reserved for the directions, up, down, left, right. There is VCC, because and ground to give power to, for example, to the mouse. I think if you want to attach some logic behind. And then there are 3 other pins which are left. One is 6, which is the fire button. Then we have pin 9 and pin 5. These 2 pins are not connected directly to the CAA, and they belong to a much more complex circuit. And my understanding is that you can attach here uh, something that is analogic. I don't know how to say in English. I think analog. For example, these paddles are they don't have micro switches like my Competition Pro. They works a little bit different because there is no switch on or off. You have to measure the let's say how much you are going left and how much you are going right. And the same concept applies to the adapter on the right. And this is an adapter I don't have, but I found on the internet. It's for sale and it's quite cheap. I think it's not so impossible. Also, I think you can reproduce one of these also on a breadboard or just some basic soldering skills. And what it does, it lets you connect an analog joystick to the DB9 Amiga port, and probably you can plug old PC joystick, because I remember back in the day there were these for example the Sound Blaster cards for the PC that also had this joystick port, and you can plug a joystick on this port, and there were some analog joystick that maybe they were useful for, I don't know, flight
Flight
simulators.
simulator, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Flight simulator.
Uh, okay. This type of device was very uncommon on the Amiga. I must say that I had a lot of games for the Amiga, and I have also some of them are behind me. I don't remember any one of them which takes advantage of this kind of analog devices, nor paddles nor analog joysticks. So this is something strange because we have at least two pins to take advantage of, and nobody thought how to use it. There are some exceptions, of course, but the vast majority of games just use one fire buttons. And I remember, for example, there was Street Fighter game, which is very, let's say, on the mood back in the days, because when Street Fighter was released on the arcade, everyone was looking for Street Fighter. And on the Amiga, the conversion wasn't the best. And additionally, there was this problem that only have one button, and I can't imagine how you can play this type of game with just one button. And I thought to myself, maybe if we have three pins available, at least we can go three buttons. Three is better than one, probably. I don't know. But so the point of my discussion here
Hi, David
is that
Nasty. Hello, welcome to the stream.
so my point here is we have three buttons, and the second button I use it only for the mouse. So for sure there is some way to detect the second button, which is the one connected to pin 9. I want to detect it and use it on my game. And following this is what I did according to the Amiga hardware reference manual. So please turn the page, and we can read what the book says about this together and try to make sense of it. So on the top right of this slide, there is again where it's my book. At least it's an image taken from the internet. It's not really my book, but it's not important.
That's my book.
Yeah, probably yes.
Nah.
On the left side of the page, there is the Italian translation. I apologize for that, but it's very straightforward. And this is at least my understanding is what you can find inside a paddle. So a paddle is just a device. I think it's meant to play Arkanoid or something like that. There is something, for example, the Taito Egret Mini, which is selling with this similar device. Of course, it's not the same because it's a modern hardware with USB connection and whatsoever. But just to give the idea, you have this analog device just to move your starship to the left or to the right at different speed. And this is something you can't do with a regular joystick, a digital joystick, because you just have right or left without specifying the speed. You have to do something implemented in software to regulate the speed. So inside, for what I understand, there is pin 8, which is ground, and pin 3, which is the fire button. So the pin 3 usually is the I think the right button, but on the paddles they are reconverted to the fire, and the movement is given by the difference between pin 7, which is VCC, and pin 9. And pin 9 is connected to this resistor, and I
So
think
I can tell you one thing, okay? So the resistor is a variable resistor. So basically, it varies the resistance. Just a bit of electronics. It varies the resistance according to where you are. I mean, that's what a potentiometer was. It's a variable resistor with. So basically, if you vary the resistance, you vary the flow, no, of that passes from one side of the circuit to the other, and that's what they are doing here. Anyway, sorry, just electronics. What I said. Yeah.
yeah, and thanks for helping because electronics is not really my field. I usually call this type of components trimmers or potentiometers.
Yeah,
And for me,
it's yeah. Potential is also a variable resistor. So yeah, it's still
yeah,
the same thing. You know, do you remember when you have the volume in the old amplifiers? Okay, you have the volume and you turn the knob. That was a variable resistor or a potentiometer. That's what it was. You are varying the resistance, and according to the resistance, the volume changed. It's the same thing. So that's what it is.
okay. So what the Amiga hardware manual states here is that you have to write a particular value, which is 1, into this register, which is pot go,
Mhm.
which is a write-only register, and this is something very common on the Amiga. The register sometimes comes in pair, and one is meant for reading, and one is for
I
writing.
think.
For example,
Yeah.
intent R and tena, and there are
Yeah.
so many more. And this is one of them. This pot go register, if you set to this particular value, we read the potentiometer value and reset pot registers. After 7 or 8 scan lines, it will start charging an internal capacitor. The time it takes to recharge depends from the potentiometer value. So I added RC circuit because this reminds me something back in the day when I was at school. There were these type of circuits that there was a resistor in the same line of a capacitor, and according to the resistor, the capacity, the time the
Yes.
capacitor needs to
To
recharge
charge. Yeah.
varies.
That's what it
Yeah,
does. Same principle. Yes.
yes, and this makes sense when he said that you have to wait 7 or 8 scan lines because probably this is the time that it
It
takes to
takes. Yeah.
recharge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each scan line, the Amiga compares the charge of the capacitor with a preset value, and if the potentiometer counter, which is the read register, it's so if it's minor, less than the potentiometer counter, then there is a counter in DFF014 which is incremented. Otherwise, the counter is held. So the main thing here is that when you press, there is some counter that the Amiga starts counting, and this is relative to the potentiometer, to
Yeah.
the resistance. If you have low resistance, probably you will charge quickly or less. So, but the thing is, you have to read this register in order to realize what is going on.
Yeah. Hello, Dario. Uh, just noticed you came in. Welcome to the stream.
Okay, turn the page.
Okay.
And this is the part which is interesting. And the hardware manual says that instead of using the pot pins as variable resistive inputs, you can use these pins as a 4-pin input-output port. And this provides you with 2 additional pins on each of the 2 controller ports for general purpose I/O. And this is what I was saying before. Technically, it's possible to have, without any trickery or, let's say, big hassles, to have a game that takes advantage of 3 buttons. For example, also we could have a 3 button mouse on the Amiga. I think this is possible.
Mm-hmm. It
And
is. Somebody did it.
yeah, probably yes. I
Somebody
just
did
want to
it.
know that I don't have any device from my old collection from the 90s that takes advantage of 2 buttons and of course 3 buttons. So I only have 1 button. The only device that takes care of the second button is my tank mouse, and that's it. So still I wonder why they totally ignored all these pins.
Well,
I don't know.
when the Amiga was released, okay, in 1985, the mouse, as we know it today, did not exist. I mean, 2 button was already a lot for, I mean, the Amiga. I think the Amiga and the Apple were the only machines that had 2 mouse buttons at that
But
time. The
I remember
PC,
the Apple has only 1 button on the mouse.
no,
Maybe
no,
I'm wrong.
the Apple started with 1 button. I mean, the Apple is who invented the mouse, because the Lisa had 1 mouse button, but then they, I don't know who copied who, because the Apple,
I
the
think
Macintosh and the
Xerox.
Amiga came at the same time, roughly. And they were competitors to each other when it comes to this publishing. Um, but they had 2 mouse buttons. The PC was took ages ahead to have a to have a mouse, let alone. I mean, it was in the 90s when the PC got a mouse.
Yeah,
So
the Amiga was a little bit ahead of its time.
so then yeah. Hello, Hypnoshock. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. We are discussing a game that Ozzy wrote. It's not finished yet, it's still in development, and we are discussing certain elements of the game, and we are showing the game too. Of course, for the Amiga and written in assembly.
Yeah, Amiga OCS, ACS. So let me continue reading the hardware manual. If you set the output enable for any pin to a 1, the Amiga disconnects the potentiometer control circuitry from the port and configures the pin for output. The state of the data bits control the logic level on the output pin. This register must be written to at the potgore address and read from the potgore address. Uh, so this is essentially what I'm doing in the game. There is a way to tell the Amiga, please don't consider all this potentiometer stuff. I'm not connecting analog device to your DB9 port, so switch to digital mode. And you can tell the Amiga to do this, just setting a couple of pin to a particular register, and as it often occurs on the Amiga. And the address register is this potco address. And then, of course, if you want to check the state of these pins, so the 5 pin and the 9 pin, you just have to query potgor address. And I think that this address has a double name. Sometimes it's referred as potimp,
Mhm.
and sometimes is potgor. And I don't know what GOR stands for. R is probably for reading, and GO, I really don't know. Gate output read address, I don't know. And pot, I think it stands for, I don't remember.
It's um
It was written in the hardware manual.
yeah, I have it. I know what you mean. It just doesn't come. But yeah, okay, whatever.
Whatever. The important thing that we just have to remember these addresses. And additionally, there is this sentence that scares me a lot. And they say that there are large capacitors on these lines, and it can take up to 300 microseconds for the line to change states. So I think this 300 microseconds is the worst case scenario, but for me it's, of course I don't realize how much is this, if this can affect the experience of the player, but 300 microseconds it's quite a lot, I think, because there are microseconds, not nano, not pico, it's micro, and so it's I don't know. Actually, I tested my code on different machines and on the emulator, and as soon I pressed the brake, the car stopped. I didn't notice any delay. Actually, for me, it works like the regular joystick fire button connected to the CA. And I don't know, but this is something that is mentioned on the Amiga hardware manual, and I just want to report as is. Additionally, I must say, maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't read all this stuff on the Fabio Ciucci's book. Maybe I missed it.
No, no, it's not
Um,
documented. It's
yeah,
not.
this is something interesting. Maybe
Only in
the
the
book.
hardware manual is documented.
Yeah, but the book sometimes takes stuff from the Amiga hardware manual and
Sometimes, yeah,
reports.
yeah.
Yes, sometimes yes. And for me, it's strange that this part it's quite important because every game probably use these DB9 connectors. So I think at least it was worth to mention that there is this possibility to use pin 5, pin 9, and that's how to use them. But again, the hardware manual is there, so mm, I just want to say that this is something that I would like to have on your book. That's it.
Well, yeah.
And
Next slide,
so,
no?
yes, next slide. And this is also a sentence taken, which are just a copy and paste from the Amiga hardware manual, and said that the lines, the one connected to pot input, can also be used for button inputs. Button is normally open switch that shorts to ground, and this is something that we already know. The Amiga must provide a pull-up resistance on sense pin, so I assume that if you watch to the schematics, you can see some pull-up resistor inside the Amiga. And To do this, set the proper pin to output and drive the line high. Set both out and that to 1. And this is something which is weird for me, because here the hardware manual is saying that if you want to use the pin 9 as a digital input, you have to set both out and that to 1. And why not just set out? You also have to set that. I don't know why, but it works like the hardware manual says. And then after that you did that, reading the pot imp will produce a 0 if the button is pressed and 1 if it's not. And so the behavior is like the regular joystick button. Can I ask you a favor? Just open the my Amiga font editor on your web browser and show to the audience.
Actually, I can show it like this. Give me a second. Yeah.
And there is a section on the top which is register conversion. And then you go, you should select from the drop-down list DFF 034.
Yeah.
And it's the list, yeah. And so, then click convert. Yeah, this is actually what...
I can make it bigger. Give me a second. Yeah.
This is what I did to make it work. So what I wanted is, I want to use the second fire button. And the hardware manual says that you have to set, and this needs to be done only once at the beginning of the program. You have to set the out pin and the data pin to 1. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm using joystick on port 2 or port 1, so the joystick port, not the mouse port, and I want to enable pin 9. So what I did, I click on change button on the row which is related to bit 15 and 14. You can do that as well. And the hex value on the top will change to C000. And what I did, I just copy and paste.
You want me to change it?
Yeah, you can yeah, do it.
There you
just
go.
To explain to the audience why I did this, how did I get this value. And again, I want to enable pin number 5 as digital input on port 2. So I have, according to the manual, I have to change out RI and that RI. On the top, the hex value is changed into C000, and this is what goes into the pot go register. And that's it. Of course, if you also want to enable, for example, pin number 5, you also have to click on out RX and that RX. I didn't try it because my game just requires 2 buttons, one for acceleration and one for braking. But for example, I have in mind, let's say that I want to add the concept of nitro, that you can use the nitro that gives you additional speed in certain part of the track. You could use a third button, and this, in theory, this is possible. I just have to enable pin number 5, and then I have to read register DFF 016, which is the correspondent read-only register of PotGo. And I just check here the data register. So I just check bit number 14 or number 12, I think. If they're set, you are pressing something. You are not pressing something. If they are zero, you are pressing something. This is how it should work. And again, I don't know how to test this because I don't have any 3-button joystick. And I saw out there that there are some vendors that are selling brand new joysticks for the Amiga, but I don't think any of them is supporting also pin number 5. They are just supporting pin number 6 and pin number 9. And this is very weird. This is why probably you will never get the Nitro feature on my game.
Yeah.
Okay, I just take some water.
Yeah, sure.
Please.
So shall I turn the page?
Yes, please turn the page. And so this is just a summary.
Sorry to stop you. The CD32 joypad only had 2 buttons, no? If I remember correctly.
The 2 buttons choice. Can
No,
you
no, no.
please
The CD32 only. I forgot how many buttons the CD32 had. I
7.
think it's 2. 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this later in the last slide.
Okay, but it had a different chip. It didn't have.
Yeah,
There you go.
they are
So
completely
that's the
different.
problem, that it didn't have the CIA 525 to 526. Sorry, I mean, or 522. I forgot the number right now. God, I am being a mess. But yeah, it had a different chip for it, so that's a different story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I will just say something about this in the next slide. So just to finish, this is just a summary of what I said. There is this file which is called joystickinput.s on my game, and of course anybody can read it. And this file we will find bit test, bit number 7, and bit number 14. The 7 is for the main 5 buttons, so the acceleration, and the other is the data pin on pot go R or pot imp, as you prefer, just to check if the file is present. And in order to use file 2, we must run once this let's say this instruction, and it's move.w C00 into the FF034, and this is something that I already said.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we are done. Just go to the next slide and let's finish.
Hypnoshock, don't worry, you can ask. It's not, there's no interruption. No, you don't need to be sorry. It's okay. We are here to be interrupted, actually. I interrupt Ozzy all the time, so you can interrupt us also.
Of course.
There you go. There's only one thing that I don't like of all this, but anyway.
So this is what I did to test my second button, and this is just an electric box. I don't know how you call it in England. It's just that something that use electricians.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. And I bought the directional stick and the buttons on the internet. They are very cheap. Just I think each button is more or less €1 or €2, and the same little more for the directional stick. But the thing is that you can build your own joystick. It's very easy. You have just to do the wiring. There is no logic inside, and that's it. This is how I tested it, because again, I don't have any joystick which supports this pin number 5 and number 9. Sorry, I am planning to do an extra hole here, add another button, and connect to pin number 5 and see what happens, and see if my Amiga blows up. Definitely, I don't know. And additionally, I want to show something to you.
I'm going to tell you something. The 526 are the CIA chips are very delicate, so be careful.
Yeah,
No, they blow up very easily
yeah.
uh, because
Let
they
me
have no
check.
protection in the circuitry for them. There's no protection, so
Yeah.
yeah, be careful.
So far, pin number 9 is alive and it's working just fine. And I just directly connected with a wire the buttons directly straight to pin number 9 and ground, and it works just fine. I don't know if I will blow up my CAs.
No, I'm just telling you. Just because I did manage to damage one, so I know
Yeah,
that that they are
but
easy to get damaged.
the hint here is buy every C64 that you can because they are cheaper than the Amiga and they are full of CAA. So just for this.
Anyway,
Um, and I want to show something to you which is
yeah.
are related to programming, but maybe you find this interesting. This is something that I built
No,
with.
further down. Look at yourself. You are showing it too high. You went out of the screen.
Okay,
Yeah,
like this.
yes. That's better.
So this is a board. It's, let's say, I tried to do this on my own and I failed. Then my friend gave me some help. So it's not really mine, but this is an open source project, I think.
Uh-huh.
So anyone can have it. And this is CD32 but joystick.
Uh-huh.
You just have to mount the connectors, and you see there are in the middle there are
Interesting.
the chips. These
Yeah.
chips are very cheap. They are cheap chips. They're not expensive. And what they do, they just take the status of the 7 buttons of
Yeah.
the joypad, and then they just serialize the data according to a latch. So imagine there is a
Uh-huh.
clock which is going up, down, and at each time the clock goes up or down, I don't remember, there is a change state on the data pin. So
Yeah.
it's
Can
very
you share if it's an open source project, can you share this on Discord later on or something like that? I am
yeah. As I said, this is. I won't share my project because it's broken. It doesn't work.
no,
I
that board. That
can
open source board. What I
I
meant.
think I think I have it somewhere. I
Okay.
have the Gerber files, so you can print it whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Just pick your favorite printer. So this is how the CD32 handles the joystick, and it's much different because, as I told you, there is a pin dedicated to the clock, and there is another which is expecting the data serialized. And even if this board is retrocompatible, so if you attach here um, uh, an old regular joystick, it still works because it works only also with one button joysticks in the old way. But so there is a way to have 7 buttons on the Amiga, at least, and the CD32 exploited this, and there are some games that are requiring a 7 button joystick. Just to mention that there are other ways to have
Which one?
multiple.
Which games of the CD32 use 7 button? I didn't know this.
For example, for sure, I know that Zool requires you to press start button to start the game, and I remember this because I have only this one button joystick, and I couldn't start the game because there is no start button. So Zool probably is one of them. All 7, I don't know if there is one who takes advantage of all 7. Additionally, I don't know from a programmer point of view if it's how it's possible to read the status of seven buttons. Of course,
It's interesting. I mean, if it's possible to have a joystick with 7 buttons,
yeah, yeah, it's possible.
and then write software that can read those 7 buttons, that would be cool.
I have a joypad which is called the Boomerang, and Amiga Store sells it, which has 7 buttons, and it's meant for CD32.
Yeah, for
It's
CD32, but for the Amiga, I mean, to program it on the Amiga, that is the thing.
so for me the CD32 is an Amiga.
No, no, no. What I meant is, yeah. But how many people has got the ACD32? I mean, to have it run, to have it programmed with an A500. That's what I mean.
Okay, but these joysticks also work on a regular 1200.
Yeah. So that's why if I'm able to program it with uh, you know normally, then that means you can write a game that can take advantage of 7 buttons on an A500, on an A1200, or on an A600. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know, probably it's doable. And this is something that, of course, the Fabriciucci's book is not mentioning,
No, not
and
mentioning at all.
but it is worth to maybe if we get some information today, we can integrate this new information in
Yeah,
Fabriciucci's.
another addition, another chapter in the
Yeah,
book.
a new chapter. I'm just throwing out ideas here, just to say that right now. One button for me it's limited.
I nominate you to find and do the research and send me the stuff, and then I am happy to write. I nominate you.
Okay, let's see if I can do something.
No, no, seriously. If you get the information, and we can write an example, then yes, I will include it in the book, and you'll get
Let's
the
say
credit.
I have an idea of the how the electronic works inside this board here because I tried to replicate this. So maybe it's a good start for me just to try to implement a controller for this type of joystick. The second board I want to show you is this, and I don't know if it's possible to show it because I don't want to make a free advertisement, but this is
No, no,
something
it's okay.
which is for sale.
Uh-huh.
It was for sale. I don't think it's by KM Tech, and this also works very well. The problem is that it's very cumbersome and it won't fit easily in your box. Just this is a comparison, mine and the KMC.
Uh-huh.
It's hard for me to show, but it's a little bit bigger, the KM Tech.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now I have some other stuff to show. No, just this. And this is my board, which is fully populated. And it's very easy to soldier. I did it and it was very easy for me, and you can do on your own. I also added some extra stuff. For example, the joystick buttons are lit because there is a light inside.
Uh-huh.
For example, when the CD32 mode is detected, all the buttons are lit, and if it's detected only the games requires only the one button of the classic joysticks, just the fire button is lit. This is something very cool that I did in the past.
Interesting.
Yeah, and these are features that, of course, the final aesthetic impact is not so great because I use electric box because I'm on the budget, but it works just fine. And of course, this joystick that you are showing is the one button. It's not the CD32. I have another for the CD32. Here you see 4 buttons, just because one is connected to the up because I don't want to press up when playing platform. So I have a duplicated button to go up. And the other is the auto fire. So when I keep pressing the second button, there is a flip flop. I don't know how to call it, a stable
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
variation. It's just a square wave which goes up and down, and sends impulses to the
Yeah.
CAA, which I'm
Five five
destroying.
five timer. It's
Yeah,
called.
it's not done with a 555. It's just with the capacitors, but
Okay.
the outcome is
The
the
same.
same.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's it. I don't think I have anything more to show you for tonight.
Okay. So I go back to. Um, so we talked about programming tonight. We talked about hardware, and we talked a lot about joysticks with more than one button. So that's quite a deviation from software programming, but at the same time, it was interesting. Um, so, guys, I hope you enjoyed the stream. At the same time, I'd like to thank Ozzy for having coming here and showing us what he has done with the game and sharing all this information. Um, uh, it's been a pleasure as always having him on my stream, and yeah, I hope as I as always to continue to stream. As you know, now I'm streaming every day, basically. When I'm not streaming coding or or there is no Aussie, there is the book. I'm streaming the book, organizing the book, etc. So that I can show that the book really exists. It's not a something in the air. Um, anyway, there's still a lot of work to be done in the book, but yes, eventually it will be ready. Let's say that. So, guys, thank you very much. Have a good evening, good night, and see you in the next stream. Bye bye.